say, first of all, introduction that today we are going to deal. And next is casting. Casting means we all know that is if I pour water to a glass tumbler having the shape like this means the water will acquire the shape of this tumbler. Am I right? Yes, okay. So that property we are going to use, that is, we will pour the molten metal into a die. We will pour a molten metal into a die, okay? And on solidification, it will acquire the shape of that glass tumbler or that die. That process is called as casting. So we will learn in detail different types of casting process. Next is metal forming. That means we will just heat up the metal. This is a metal rod. Just heat up that metal and then hammer it at this end so that I can bend that sheet metal like this. This process is called as metal forming. Got it? And different type of forming process are there that we will deal in those classes. Next is heat treatment process. Say, if you are going to cast a material by means of two or more engineering materials, suppose you are going to cast a product by means of two or more engineering materials, the denser particles will come at the bottom. Am I right? The denser particles will come at the bottom and the lighter particles will be at the top. That means non-uniform distribution of materials will be there. How I can make it uniform? By means of heat treatment process. That means the process which is used to change the properties of material is called as heat treatment process. Okay. So that different type of heat treatment process are there that will vary depending upon the application, depending upon the material. So that you will learn in this chapter. Next is processing of plastics. Plastics, nowadays it is familiar to all. And how you can make up a plastics, what are the different type of plastics, those things you will learn in this chapter. Next is powder metallurgy. Nowadays, instead of making the metal as a molten form, we will make the metal in the form of powders so that very easily we can blend them together and then compact it. Very easily we can compact it. So that technique of converting the metals into powders and then compacting is called as powder metallurgy. And this is a very small chapter because according to your syllabus, it is written there only the introduction to powder metallurgy. So we have to spend some time for that powder metallurgy topic also. That is somewhat interesting topic. And after that, metal cutting. Say, I told you that the casting and metal forming. In the case of casting, we are using the molten metal, and in the case of metal forming, we can change the shape of the material by hammering it. After heating that material, you have to hammer it. You can change the shape. In the case of casting also, you can attain the shape by pouring the molten metal into the cavity. In these two things, in these two processes, we can see that no materials are removed. No materials are removed. But here, in the case of metal cutting, the unwanted materials, to get the shape, the unwanted materials are removed in the form of chips. In the form of chips. So those things also we will learn in detail in the chapter metal cutting. Next is for cutting those unwanted materials from that raw material, we want certain machineries, and those machineries are called as machine tools. And different type of machine tools are there that we will learn in this chapter, machine tools. And along with all these conventional machine tools, new machining methods are there. That is, say, CNC, DNC, like those machines. And not only that, some we will simply call it as unconventional machining process. Okay, in those things, the tool and the metal will not have a direct contact. Tool and the raw material will not have a direct contact. Like that way, the machining will also be taken place. So that is an interesting session that we will learn in the new machining methods. Yes, EDM, electric discharge machining, is an example for that. EBM, abrasive jet machining, like those things comes under the category of new machining methods, right? After that, joining process, welding process is there, riveting is there, load bracing, soldering, those things we will learn in detail in the joining process. That is, simply we can say that welding. And finally, the important thing, that is revision. At least we will take 2 question papers to revise the entire topics. So this is my plan, totally 52 hours. How's my plan? Jagannath? Okay. Now, today I come with the introduction PPT of manufacturing engineering. So, before entering into the class, shall I ask you one question? What is the difference between manufacturing and production? You might have heard these 2 words, isn't it? Manufacturing and production. Yes. Yes, let us see what is mean by manufacturing and what is mean by production in coming slides. Moving to the first slide. Yes, manufacturing. It encompasses activities which are related or independent, collectively contribute for the outcome of the product. Say, I want to make up a product. What are the things I have to consider? Entire things comes under the section manufacturing. The entire domain of manufacturing, that is physical, mental outputs, that is physical means what? Action phase. That is we are making the product. Mental inputs means what? That is design stage. Entire thing we call this manufacturing. Okay, is it clear what is manufacturing? Okay, that means if you are going to make up a product, I have to collect the data from the market, which type of product they want, which type of product the customer needs, and based on that they have to make up a product design. Entire things comes under the manufacturing section. Then interaction of these activities are strengthened or make it easier with the help of computers, and hence we call that as computer integrated manufacturing, short form as SIM. Okay, moving to the next slide. See, here it is written there. What are the various steps that we can see in a manufacturing? Market research is there, then market forecast, and after that identify the needs of the customer, then receive it, and then we will develop a product design. Okay, yes, we will develop a product design. After that, we will make up a drawings, production drawings. Then we will make up a plan for the process through which way we have to make it. Like that process planning should be done. Then the layout of the production shop floor that we have to set. What are the machineries required? Those things we have to set. Then entire machineries are ready for this purpose. Then management function. That means the preventive maintenance. That is, we have to take care for maintenance, inventory. That also should be comes under the manufacturing section. And finally, assembly and shipping. And hence, this is a loop. Again, the market is there. Again, assembly, shipping to the market. Then again, they will research the market, they will forecast the market, and then they will identify and conceive it. Again, they will develop their existing plan. Hence, this will be a cycle, a closed loop. You got it what I am saying? And how it is closed, when it reaches the market, how it gets closed? By means of the feedback from the customers. Am I right? By means of the feedback from the customers. So, based on the feedback, the manufacturing systems are classified into two. One is open and other is closed. Okay, one is open and other is closed. Let us move to the next slide where we can see that. Yes, open loop system and closed loop system. Open loop system means what? Have no feedback. Closed loop system means what? Have feedback. That is the basic difference. Is it clear? Okay, fine. Okay. Now, we are moving to production. I told you, what is mean by production? Goal is the production of product. Goal achieved through technological transformation by means of machineries. For that, you have to divide the work, divide the team objective, authorities and responsibilities you have to divide. Anyway, we want the final product. In short, what we can conclude? In short, converting the raw material to finished product is called production. That is, raw material which is existing inside that industry is converted to a finished product. That process is called as production. So who will collect all these things inside the factory? Who will collect the market research? Those things comes under the manufacturing section. Now you got the difference between manufacturing and production. Jagannathan, have you got the difference between manufacturing and production? Yes, okay, fine. So in short, we can conclude that the production system is an input-output model. Say, we will input the raw material, somewhat production processes are taken place there, that is machine and technological transformation by means of machineries are taken place there, and we will get the final product. This is the block diagram of that production system. Now, we are moving to next slide. Manufacturing process. Process can be classified into mainly of 5 types, that is primary machining process, joining process, surface finishing process, and process affecting change in properties. These are the 5 types of process. Let us see one by one. First of all, the primary machining process. Yes, 2 types of primary machining process are there. I already told you that in the case of casting and forming, the unwanted materials are removed or not? In the case of casting and forming, unwanted materials are removed or not? Jagannathan? In the case of casting and forming, the unwanted materials are removed or not? No, it will not remove, isn't it? It will not remove the unwanted materials. We will change the shape of material by pouring the molten metal into the mold cavity, or we will heat that metal and by hammering we can change the shape. Am I right? Yes, okay. So that is one type. Let us read. 2 types are there. One which produce the finished product by deforming process. That is, no metal is removed. Examples are casting, forging, rolling, etc. Say, you can see the forging diagram here. That is, the hot billet is this one. This is the hot billet, and actually the shape is like this. By means of hammering, I can change the shape like this. Got it? And casting. First of all, I heat up the metal by means of a furnace and make it molten form, and the molten metal is poured into the mold. See, you can see the mold cavity here. See, this is the cavity. This is the cavity. And into that cavity, we will pour that molten metal, and hence molten metal will get filled up into this cavity and allow it for solidification. You will get the model. In both these cases, no materials are removed. No unwanted materials are removed to attain that shape. Yes. Jagannathan, what is that need to remove? Yes, that is the second one. That means one which requires the machining process. That is shaping the product by removing the unwanted materials. That is the second type. That means, say, if I want to make up a shape like this from a raw material like this means, yes, I have to remove this much material. Am I right? That is the second case. Anyway, you will get the final product by means of a single process, either by forging or either by casting or by machining. Clear? That is called as primary machining process. Okay, fine. Now, moving to next one. Secondary machining process. Say, we are usually using the sand mold. We are usually using the sand mold to make up the die. So surely, when I pour the molten metal into that cavity, some of the sand particles will entrap, will adhere on the surface of that cast. Am I right? Will adhere on the surface of that cast. Yes. That I have to remove by means of an additional machining process. Say, grinding process I have to use to remove that. If I am using a secondary process to get the final product means we call that process as secondary machining process or simply machining process. Clear? Clear, Jagannathan? Okay, fine. See here, you can see the figure here. This is the product which I got from casting. And this is not at all in a finished way, finished manner. So what should I do? I put that material, I hold that material in a lathe and finish it. And then this portion I want some thread, and thread is also cut by means of lathe. For that, I want lathe as a machine for undergoing the secondary operation. And those secondary operations are called as machining process. Clear, Jana? So two type of process we learn. One is primary shaping process. Yes, that is primary machining process, in which two types are there. In which one is the shape is acquired without removal of the material. Second one is shape is acquired by removing the material. Okay. In the case of second one, after the primary machining process, we will not get the proper dimensions or proper design. Then we have to go for some secondary process. And that secondary process is called as machining process. Examples are turning, thread cutting, drilling. Those comes under the family of machining process. Grinding, polishing, those also. Now, joining and surface finishing process. You might have seen in the trains, also trains, you can see that the bodies are joined by means of, that is, sheets are joined by means of rivets. Am I right? Rivets. That is here, you can see. That is, the two sheet metals are there, and that is joined by means of a rivet. Okay. And that is one type of joining process. Another one is welding. See, this can be welded. These two pipes can be welded by means of welding process. And these are the various joining processes. Welding, soldering, bracing, riveting. You might have heard about the soldering. That is used for welding the electronic components to the board, isn't it? For that we are using the soldering, and for that we are using the lead. Okay. If you use the zinc instead of lead means we call that as brazing. So those things, don't worry about these things. We will learn in detail the way joining process in the chapter joining process. Okay. Then process to get good surface finish. That is buffing, lapping, etc. When you go to purchase a new car, they will say that, sir, I shall give you a free Teflon coating. Have you heard about that? When you go to purchase a new car, they will say that showroom. When you go to the showroom, they will say that, yes, I shall provide you the Teflon coating over the car. Yes, that means they will put some cream over the car, and then they will use some waste cloth enwrapped on a machine, and that machine will be rotated at a very high speed. That will be placed over the paint surface, so that we will get somewhat glazing. Okay, that is simply we call it as polishing. Okay, Jagannathan. So like that way, in the case of metals also, we can provide some polishing process. One type polishing process is called as buffing. Buffing. You can see the figure over here. Say this is the metal to be polished, and this is a wheel which is made up of cotton. And some cream is placed over there, and we will show this metal piece with the cream under this cotton wheel. Next is lapping. Lapping, for that, only difference between this lapping and buffing is based on the cream. For this lapping, we are using somewhat one material called as lapping compound. Okay, which is more abrasive than that of the buffing compound. That is the difference. Okay, so that process also is there under the production process. Now we are moving to next slide. So we learned primary machining process, secondary machining process, then third one is joining process, and then polishing process, and last one is process affecting change in properties. I told you that when you cast a product by means of two different materials, then denser particles will come at the bottom. Lighter particles will be at the top. Okay, lighter particles will be at the top. I want to make this in a uniform way. What shall we do? We have to provide heat treatment, and that heat treatment comes under the process affecting change in properties. That heat treatment comes under process affecting change in properties. Okay. Process for imparting certain properties to the metal parts to make them possible for particular operation. Examples: heat treatment, cold working, hot working, etc. Those things, hot working, cold working, I shall give you a brief introduction. That is, you might have seen the smithy hammering the red hot billet in certain films, isn't it? Yes. So if he hammer that billet at a temperature below its recrystallization temperature, then we call that as cold working. If he hammer the metal above its recrystallization temperature, that is called as hot working. Then what is meant by recrystallization? You might have heard about BCC, FCC, HCP, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, yes. Okay. So at a particular temperature, say for the body centered. Yes, for at a particular temperature, in the case of iron, the body centered is converted into FCC. That point is called as recrystallization point. And if you define that point with the help of temperature, means we call it as recrystallization temperature. Okay, for iron, it is 723 degrees Celsius. Okay, so if he hammer that iron billet below that 723, we call that process as what? Cold working. And if he hammer that billet Above the 723 degrees Celsius means we call that as hot working. Clear? Okay, fine. Now we can see the classification of manufacturing process. Mainly two types of classification process are here quoted. That is job production and another one is batch production. Job production means small number of pieces produced only once. That means large number of different varieties are produced. Different varieties are produced. That is called as job production. Say only once, that is prototype. Say prototype is a dummy model. So dummy model is produced only once. That comes under the job production. Say next is you all know the Toyota Corolla car, isn't it? Toyota Corolla. Now it is not available in the market. It is not available. It is one of the stopped model of Toyota, and still the cars are there in the roads, on the roads. So the customer needs the spare parts. For that, small number of pieces when need arises. That is when the customer arises the need of that spare parts, the Toyota company may manufacture the spare parts for that car. That also comes under the job production. Next is during the rainy season only we want the raincoats, umbrellas, those things. Then that also comes under the job production. Is it clear? What is my job production? Okay, fine. Now batch production. Batch production means we can produce the batch only once. Batch produced only once. That means it is not a right way. The batch produced only one item. Okay, batch produced only one item in a bulk. That is called as the batch production. Instead of making different products, the batch production made only one product at a time, and that will be in a bulk. Say, for example, 10 mm nut and bolt. That will be made in a bulk in batch production. Okay, that is the difference between the batch production and job production. Anyway, we can conclude like this. Job production involves less quantity. The quantity of products will be less, but more varieties we can see. While what is batch production involves large quantity of identical parts. But here, less quantity but more varieties can be seen. Here, more quantity but less varieties. Clear, Jonathan? Okay. Okay. Next is engineering materials. The materials which are used for engineering purpose is called as engineering materials, and the factors which govern the classification are chemical composition, mode of occurrence, refining and manufacturing process, atomic and crystalline materials, crystalline structure, industrial use of materials. Okay. These are the various factors which govern the classification of materials. So chemical composition means whether it is acidic or basic, like those things. Mode of occurrence, whether it is readily available on the earth crust or we have to mine it. Then various refining techniques are required to get up the pure material. Then atomic and crystalline materials, whether it is a BCC structure or FCC structure, those things. Then industrial use of materials, whether it is a nuclear material or like those things. Based on those things, we will classify the materials. Next is classification based on its properties. Say mechanical properties that we will learn in detail in next slides. Next is electrical. Say whether it is a good conductor, resistor, dielectric. Dielectric means what? It is an insulator itself. Okay, insulator property. Next is magnetism. That is whether it is good permeable to magnetism. and hysteresis. That means if we give a magnetic field to that material, what will happen? It will become a magnet. That is, we are going to make up an electromagnet. Okay, it will become a magnet. And when we release that magnetic field, what will happen? It will not release its magnetic power very easily. It will not lose its magnetic power quickly. It will lose that magnetic property slowly. That means there exists a lag. Got it? There exists a lag for getting that magnetic power zero. That is called as hysteresis. Clear, Janathan? Yeah, hysteresis loss. Okay. Now, thermal. That is, thermal conduction is there, expansion is there. Okay. Then convection is there. Those properties comes under the thermal properties. Next is chemical. Yes, corrosion resistance, alkalinity, that is basicity, acidity. Based on that, we will classify. Physical, yes, based on the dimension, based on density, porosity. Based on that, we will classify the materials. Then color, light reflection, those based on that, based on optical properties also, we will classify the materials. So these are the various properties which govern the classification of materials. Now we are going in detail the mechanical properties. Moving to the next slide. Say mechanical properties. First one, elasticity. It is the ability of the material to regain its original shape and size after the force is removed. That we all know, isn't it? Whenever we remove the force, what will happen? It will regain its original position. That is called as elasticity. Then what is plasticity? Whenever we release the force, it will not regain its original shape. You got it? It will not regain its original shape. That is called as the plasticity. Okay? You got the difference between elasticity and plasticity? Yes, fine. Next is strength. What is meant by strength? Then that is the ability defined as the capacity of the metal to withstand load without fracture. Without fracture, how much load it can withstand. That is called as strength. Okay? Without fracture, how much load it can withstand. Next is ductility. The ability of the material to be drawn into thin wires. Okay? That means we can draw that material into thin wires. That is called as what? Ductility. Next is hardness. It is defined as the resistance of the material to scratch. That is, we can't scratch the surface of a rock. Yeah, yes, like wire, we can make it drawn. That is called as ductility. Yes, right. You are right. Scratch means what? You can't scratch on the surface of a stone, but very easily you can scratch on the surface of a plywood. Why? Because the hardness is differed. You got it? Definition of this hardness. Resistance of a material to scratch is called as the hardness. Yes. Next one, brittleness. Say, you know the glass, when it falls on the floor, surely it will get breakdown. And that glass comes under the family of brittle material. That means the property fracturing a material without warning or appreciable deformation, with a small deformation or without any warning, it will get breakdown. That is called as the brittleness. Clear? So elasticity means what? Elasticity means what? It will regain its original shape. Plasticity means what? It will not regain its original shape when the force is removed. Strength means what? It will not, maximum load it can withstand without fracture. Ductility means what? That material can be drawn into thin wires. Hardness, yes, resistance to scratch. Brittleness, if the material will fracture without any warning or without any deformation. No, toughness is a different one. We are moving to that. Toughness means property of a material which enables the material to be twisted, bent, or stretched under high stress before rupture. That means we are twisting. Say this is the axis of the material. We are twisting that material. Okay, we are twisting that material by giving a force like this. How much I can twist without rupture? That is called as toughness. Or one more definition is also there. How much impact load it can withstand. How much impact load it can withstand. Sudden load. That is also called as toughness. Clear, Niradadan? The difference between toughness and strength. Okay, I shall explain with the help of a graph. 1 minute. This is the stress strain curve. Yes. I got it. This is the strain. And the stress is proportional strain up to a proportionality limit. Then comes the elastic limit. And then comes yield point, and then comes the maximum point where that much stress, maximum stress is there on the body. And after that, again, we can see that the stress comes down and finally fracture occurs. This is the point we call that as ultimate tensile strength point or ultimate tensile stress point. That is, this is the point, or this is the maximum stress that a material can withstand. Okay, or we call this as the ultimate tensile strength, maximum load that material can carry without fracture. That is called as a strength. Suppose I am giving, say, this much load by means of a sudden impact, it will get a breakdown. Okay, how much load it can withstand, how much load it can withstand, how much impact load it can withstand without fracture. That will govern the toughness. Clear? Clear, Jagannathan? Okay, fine. Next is stiffness. Property of a material which enables a material to resist deformation. Okay, enables a material to resist that deformation. That is called as stiffness. We can see that the spring, because of that stiffness property, it will regain its original shape. Sorry, not the spring. The spring comes under the resilience. It is a capacity of material to absorb or store energy to resist the shock and impact. That is called as the resilience. That comes under that. In that, it comes under the spring. The stiffness means what? That means if I give a load, it will resist the deformation. No deformation will be there. No change in shape will be there. That much load it can withstand. That is called as stiffness. Resilience means what? If I give some energy or some load to that, that will be absorbed in that and it will be released to regain its original shape. That is called as resilience. It will be stored inside that material as strain energy. Then malleability. It is a property of a material of getting permanently deformed by compression without rupture. Say gold is a good malleable metal. That means we can flatten that gold into thin sheets. That property is called as the malleability. Next is fatigue. Fatigue means what? If I give a cyclic load on a material, at a particular stress, at a particular cycles, it will get breakdown. Such a breakdown is called as the fatigue failure. Failure of a metal under alternating stress is called as the fatigue failure. What is creep? Creep means the slow and progressive deformation of the material. Say for a bridge, after 100 years it will sag like this. After 200 years it will sag like this. After 1,000 years it will get breakdown. That slow deformation is called as the, or slow breakdown is called as the creep. That will basically depend upon the temperature. So these are the various mechanical properties. Now you got an idea about mechanical properties? Okay. Now, so once again we can repeat. The elasticity means what? Whenever the force is removed, it will regain its original shape. Plasticity means what? It will not regain its original shape when the force is removed. Isn't it? Then what next we learn? Hardness means what? Hardness. Resistance to scratch. Resistance to scratch, isn't it? Yes. Now after that, yes, brittleness. Brittleness. What is brittleness? Any idea what is brittleness? Brittleness. Example is what? Yeah, glass is an example for that, isn't it? Glass is an example for that. That is, without showing any signs of deformation, it will get breakdown. That is called as brittleness. Then one more thing is also there in the previous slide, that is ductility. What is that? Yeah, which can be drawn into thin wires is called as the ductility. After that, in the second slide, we discussed about what? Toughness. Toughness. What is meant by toughness? Yeah, toughness. How much twisting load or how much impact load it can withstand, isn't it? How much shock loads it can withstand without fracture is called as toughness. Am I right? How much twisting load or shock load it can withstand is called as the toughness. Then next one is what? Yeah. Oh, twisting load and also the impact load also we can consider. Okay. That is not written on the slide. Impact load, sudden load. How much sudden load also it can withstand. Okay, fine. Now, after that, what we learned? Stiffness. What is meant by stiffness? The property of a material to resist the deformation, isn't it? The property of a material to resist deformation. To resist the deformation. That is, no deformation will be happen due to that load. That is called a stiff. Yes, that material is a very stiff material. That means it will not undergo any deformation when a load is applied. Okay. And then what is resilience? Resilience. Yes. Janana is typing. Yeah, strain energy. That means somewhat energy is stored inside that material. And that is utilized to regain its original shape. Okay. That is called as resilience. Now, after that, we discuss the malleability. What is that? Yes, flattened into thin sheets. Yes, right. That is, gold is a good malleable metal. Okay. After that, we discuss the two properties, that is fatigue and creep. What is meant by fatigue? Yeah, by means of a cyclic load, the material will fail. That is called as fatigue. What is creep? Yes, yes. Under temperature, the slow propagation to the failure is called as the creep. Yes. Now we are moving to another one, that are the various type of materials, say metals, alloys, ceramics, glasses. Let us see. The metals and alloys can be separated from the non-metals by means having a good electrical conductivity, thermal conductivity, strength, stiffness, formability. No need of discussing for that, because you already know what is meant by strength, what is meant by stiffness, what is meant by formability. Yes, ability to change the shape, ability to change the shape. That is there for the metals. Very easily we can change the shape of metals. Then resistance to shock, that is toughness, is also there. Then useful for structural and load bearing applications. Then alloy means what? It is a combination of more than one metals. Then steels, aluminium, zinc, etc. are examples for metals. Ceramics. These are inorganic materials. Sand, rock, those things comes under the category of ceramics. It is used for making chip, sensor, capacitor, etc. And one important thing, it do not conduct heat and electricity. Why? Because of the presence of porosity. So what? Because of the porosity, air will entrap that space. Okay? Air is an insulator. That's why it becomes a bad conductor of heat as well as electricity. Next is, it has exceptional strength under compression. When we compress it, it will have very good strength. So these are the properties of a ceramics. Clear? So first of all, we discussed the metals and then we discussed the ceramics. Yes, okay. Next is glass. Glass is also comes under the category of ceramic itself. But here we wrote that it is an inorganic crystalline material. It have a crystal structure. The ceramic have a crystal structure, but the glass do not have. It is an amorphous material. It is a non-crystalline material. Okay. Yes, it is also a type of ceramic, but it doesn't have any crystal structure. It comes under the category of amorphous material, that is non-crystalline materials. It doesn't have a proper crystal structure. Got it? Okay. Used in homes, automobiles, etc. And nowadays, glass plus ceramics, we can see the party halls, the floorings. We can see the glass is there over the ceramic tile, isn't it? That is called as glass ceramics, are formed by means of special thermal process. Example is Zerodur. Okay, so these are some of the materials. Moving to next slide. Say metals, ceramics, glasses, and then polymer. Polymer, we know that is we heard when we heard this name polymer, first thing come to our mind is the plastic itself. That means something which is made by means of merization. Merization process is called as a polymer. Merization means joining process. Lot of mer combined together to form polymer. That is to say, C, single bond C, where C is a mer. Lot of C joined together to form a polymer. Okay. And this bonds, sometimes it will be ionic bond. Sometimes it will be ionic bond. Sometimes it will be covalent bond. I think you already heard about these type of bonds, ionic bond and covalent bond. In the case of ionic bond, the electrons are electrons are delivered to another atom where which could having the deficiency. In the case of covalent bond, both have the deficiency of one electron, so they will share, and hence the bond occurs. Yes. So that is the difference. So covalent bond is more stronger than ionic bond. Okay. So based on these bonds, again, these polymers are classified into thermoplastics and thermosetting plastics. Thermoplastics are made by means of ionic bond, that means a weak bond. In the case of thermosetting plastics, it is made up of covalent bond. It is a very strong bond. And thermosetting plastic, Once it is changed the shape, changes its shape means we can't again change the shape. Why? Because of the strong bond. But the thermoplastic, we can change the shape 1,000 number of times. No problem is there because it is made up of, it is joined by means of ionic bond. Clear? Polymer. Is it clear, Janaran? Okay. Okay, fine. Next is semiconductor. Semiconductor means it comes in between the category of conductors and insulator. Conductor, we know the valence band is on the conduction band itself. In the case of insulators, somewhat energy gap is there between the conduction band and the valence band. In the case of semiconductor, that energy gap is somewhat less. Say for example, it is like this. The conduction band is here and the valence band is here. This is valence band and this is conduction band. That is, the conduction band and valence band get merged together. That is in the case of metals. That is, say in the case of conductors. In the case of insulators, there exists a gap between valence band and conduction band. See, a large gap is there. That is called as an insulator. In the case of a semiconductor, the gap is somewhat less. That is, this is conduction band, this is valence band. Okay, like that it is arranged. And this much energy can be given to the electrons of valence band by increasing the temperature. So what will happen? This electron will jump to the conduction band and will act as a conductor. Similarly, if we add some impurities into the matrix of this material, then also the electrons will jump from here to here. So we can make up the semiconductors to a conductor by means of doping process or by means of increasing the temperature. If I increase the temperature to make the semiconductor a conductor, then we call it as intrinsic semiconductor. If you dope that material to make it a conductor, we call that as extrinsic semiconductor. Okay, so those things come under the semiconductor part. It is partially conducting. Okay, fine. Next is composite materials. You might have heard about alloys. Alloys means it is a combination of more than one metal, but composite is not like that. Composite is the combination of more than one engineering material. Okay, engineering materials include metals, non-metals, ceramics, semiconductors, polymers. So all these merge together to form one or two engineering materials combined together to form a composite. Best example is a concrete, where metal is there, ceramic is there, cement is there. So that is an example. Fiberglass. Okay, in that also different components, engineering material components are there. Plywood, yes. Those things come under the category of composite materials. You got an idea about engineering materials? So, is it clear, Jaganathan? Okay, fine. Okay, so this chapter over, the introduction part over. Now we can revise it once again. What we discussed the first slide is what is the difference between the manufacturing and the production, isn't it? And we all know that manufacturing means, yes, manufacturing and production. The manufacturing, what is the difference between manufacturing and production is manufacturing includes all the activities, but the production carries only the properties, sorry, process only, yes. After that we go through what various production process, isn't it? Various production process we discussed. Yes. What are the various production process we discussed? First one is primary shaping process. Sorry, primary machining process. Then we discussed the machining process. Then after that, what we discussed? Surface finishing, isn't it? Surface finishing process. Yes. Property, change in property process. Then joining process. So 5 type of process we discussed. And after that, we passed through various various engineering materials based on chemical composition, mode of occurrence. We classify that material. After that, we go through the various properties which governs the selection of materials. And then we discussed the various mechanical properties like elasticity, plasticity, ductility, malleability, fatigue, creep, those things. After that, we discussed the various type of engineering materials like metals, ceramics, semiconductor, polymers, like those things, composites, like those things. Okay. Yes. Fine. So this much is the introduction part. Actually, since this is a theory subject, when you come on next class, my plan is to conduct a small test paper. Okay. That will be sent through the Google Drive. That is my aim, my plan. So I come with the questions today itself. So you just try. That is just a sample. Since this chapter is very small, I come with that today itself. So are you ready? Okay, 1 minute. Let me take that question.